Fifth meeting of the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority. Roll call, please.
Jim Anderson for Tommy Johnson.
Miles Davidson in for Commissioner Kevin Calley.
Present.
Here.
Present.
Here. Thank you. We have a quorum. Next is Pledge of Allegiance. Under Sheriff Anderson, would you lead us in the pledge?
Stand. Flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
The notice of this meeting was properly posted on December 1st, 2022. Next up is public comment. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Up first is Mark Falk.
Good afternoon. We have been calling for the resignation or firing of Greg Williams for well over a year. What I'm holding here is a February 8th, 2022 press release and press conference that happened calling for his resignation or his firing. This is way past due, and it is only step one. That's what we need to remember here. This is only step one. Had he been terminated a year ago, we could have saved a good majority of the 15 lives that have been lost since then. And I find that to be abhorrent. I'm not going to use the word that's more harsh on this, but we have had sexual assaults in that jail, multiple ones. That alone should have gotten him fired. And I have a question for you. Of the last assaults that happened, where 3 men were put in a cell with a woman, and it was later called consensual sex, what happened to those 3 men? Were they charged? Were they turned loose like the other rapist was months ago? Greg Williams has a regime that is based in negligence, criminal negligence, that is based in complete failure, that is based in little or no oversight. And frankly, because he was not fired a year ago, that reflects on the lack of oversight by this body, by this jail trust. You have failed us too. You have a chance to move forward and do the right thing. We have, like a mantra, preached to you the things that could make that jail safer. And starting by getting half of the people out of there, we have said, spend money on mental health instead of criminalizing mental health. Spend money on transitional housing for the homeless instead of criminalizing homelessness. Spend money on drug treatment and alcohol treatment instead of criminalizing those people suffering from that type of mental illness. And finally, spend money to release with the transitional bail, revolving bail program, people who cannot afford to get out and are only in there because they are poor. Those people should not be subjected to near death or death possibility every time they walk into that jail. So we urge you today to finally do the right thing, fire Greg Williams, and begin to make the moves to reduce the population of the jail and make it a safer place.
Thank you. Sean Cummings.
Good afternoon, everybody. Don't worry about turning around, Ben. I'll talk to your back. All right, we're going to talk today about bed bugs, which has been a problem there since day one. Whenever you guys took over, nobody's done really anything to solve bed bugs. So I don't know if most of you know that I've been a restaurant manager owner for about 40 years now. Now, of course, we would never tolerate this kind of stuff in any restaurant or hotel, but it has been tolerated in this establishment. Now, the latest lady that got burned by the chemicals was probably a chemical put on the floor to kill bed bugs. And looking at her face, that's probably $500,000. That's my guess, is a settlement. So I just want to tell you guys how to clean commercially. And that way you can put it on down the line to whoever ends up in this job. So if you grab a bottle of bleach, which everybody thinks is a cleanser, it's not. It's a disinfectant. And if you read on it, it tells you the surface must be cleaned first. So you have to go in with a deep cleaner. In the jail, that would be a forensic cleaner because it's basically not a crime scene, but it hasn't been deep cleaned since it opened. So inside of all of those cement blocks are little crevices where skin, oil, dust, and everything is gathered. So it has to be pulled out to even be able to disinfect. So if you hire the right company instead of the lowest bidder, we wouldn't be paying these prices for all of this other stuff and have a constant bed bug issue. But you guys aren't writing me a check to tell you this. Somebody else should have looked this up and found it out and called hotels, called restaurants, and find out how to solve this dang problem. So you clean it first, forensic cleaning. It's going to cost you some money, but it'll be cheaper than that lawsuit. And then you can disinfect. And then you can put product down to kill the bed bugs. But also, everybody used to be showered before they went up to the cells. We stopped doing that. So they're bringing them up with them. Now, you shouldn't have to look to me to be the solution to this problem. And it's been horrific for 2.5 years. Most of you are new. Jim, you two that listened to me for 2.5 years about bed bugs. Let's solve that. Yes, he needs to be fired, but I honestly think all of you need to be fired also for negligence. But let's solve the bed bugs in the meantime. Can we do that, please? Thank you.
Brooke Bradley Salyer.
This is my first time speaking to you, yet I'm not new to these meetings. I'm the co-founder of the Bow Culture Freedom Foundation, and I know every one of you are extremely familiar with the other creator of this group, Miss Jody. I've sat in these meetings time after time after time and listened to the lies and fabrications and cover-ups in the reports that Greg Williams, aka Untrust Senior, has given to this board, where he states he has hired so many new jailers, yet there are only a handful to monitor all 13 floors at any given time. Make that make sense. He has stated he is treating for bed bugs, yet has refused to allow someone in to treat them, and his staff leaves inmates who have severe allergic reactions in the cells ridden with bugs with no help. Site checks are not being performed, and it has come to my attention by way of inmates on the 13th floor that Renee Houston died due to criminal neglect on the part of the OCDC staff, and Miss Houston had been in her cell for over 24 hours. D.O. Haynes is the rover on that floor who was on duty that fateful night. Haynes does not do site checks, demeans and ridicules the inmates for asking for help or even a shower, and keeps a no-help list of the inmates that he won't check on because they ask for assistance too much. I listened as every one of you, Scully excluded, defended Mr. Greg Williams at the last meeting and could not even muster 1 ounce of courage, not 1 ounce of courage to even put that motion to vote to get him removed. I listen as the community has warned you time and time and time again that any more loss of life would be blood on your hands in that torture chamber that you call county jail. This constitutes, as all these deaths constitute blood on your hands, because you've had forewarned knowledge and you have refused to do anything. Heed the warnings of the community or listen to the inmates that come up here and talk to you. And I believe that he doesn't only need to go. I believe that every single one of you are the problem. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Christopher Johnson.
Good afternoon. Winston Churchill once said that courage is rightly considered the foremost of the virtues, for upon it all others depend. We must have the courage to see this through, and we must put an end to this madness. There are those who possess no inkling of courage who spout out all the time that distrust is the best thing that we can do, falling to the lie that this entity is designed to help, or they themselves are the very scourge that profit from the suffering, or the sycophantic suck-ups aspiring for power with stars in their eyes. The county's big lie has been pushed for years that everything prior to the trust was far worse, when in reality, we in 2 years have lost roughly 29 people, which is equivalent to 40% of the human toll lost in 19 years under the sheriff. And these are the years from 2000 to 2019, 73 souls perished. That is the verified human toll. In roughly 4 years or less, we are going to surpass that amount. You took over in 2020 and signed your indenture in 2019. Time is up. In 4 years, we are again statistically about to surpass the human beings lost in 19 years. 6 years versus 19 years. I at first didn't believe these numbers, or the fact that we last passed a health inspection under P.D. Taylor. But when you do what I do by pulling data and government documents, you see the truth, not the propaganda. This potential resignation is only the smallest step towards justice, but a necessary one. In reality, you all need to be dissolved. CJAC needs to be dissolved, removing the Chamber of Commerce's fingers from our justice system. Think about this. All who are investigating you are here for a reason. So we're pushing for a complete federal takeover of our jail and investigations into the thugs responsible for the death and problematic and probable racketeering of federal funds. The DOJ wants stories of victims and survivors of that death. So here's the website for people who are listening. The email. community.ocdc@usdoj.gov. That is capital C, lowercase OMMUNIT, period, capital O, capital C, capital D, capital C, @usdoj.gov. This is going to take all of us to clean this mess. White-collar thugs and every person behind this scheme need to be held accountable. Courage and persistence will stop this injustice. And I also want to ask you guys a question when we're going to let the public know that, again, you failed another health department report. Summary of findings, November 8, 2022. I'm going to submit that for the record. Said repeat deficiencies. Repeat deficiencies.
Jody Poplin.
Hello. I don't know if y'all are listening and not hearing, if you're hearing and not listening. Chad, you pay attention. Adam, you do. Reverend Scobie, I ain't even including you in any of this. But as far as the bed bugs, do you know that the Untrust Senior and Junior have not ordered from Michelle Downs since October 26th? And they only got 30 gallons then. So what are they using? What are they spraying in there? You got inmates. They're chewing up their eyes. And they can't see. And your public servants over there are laughing at them. If they call medical, they hang up on them. They don't help them. And Turnkey Health, as well as the Rovers, do have a no help list. And if you call too much or bother them too much, your name goes on the no help list. And as far as these two sitting over here that you got in there running that facility, I know a lady, a beautiful, intelligent lady that's in that facility right now. Her alone by herself could run circles around these two. And it's Major Brandy Garner. And that's who should be running your jail. And I've known her for years. I knew her before she came to Oklahoma County. But that's who you need to let run your jail. She knows how to run it. She knows what she's doing. She's got a lieutenant in there right now. And she knows what she's doing. They will actually get up when I call. And they go and they check on these inmates. They do their job. Untrust Senior, he passes it off to somebody else. Who passes it off to somebody else? But Major Garner and Lieutenant Ross will come to the lobby. They take my emails. So does Kevin Wagner, who, unfortunately, from what I understand, is retiring due to his health. But if you want that jail run and run correctly, you need to put Major Garner in charge of that jail. And you need to figure out what they're using over there for the bed bugs, because they have not ordered from the company. They promised they would. She told them clearly what they need to do and how they need to do it to get rid of the bed bugs. They didn't listen. And they have not placed an order from her company since October 26th. So I want to know what they're using. Thank you.
Thank you. Jess Eddie?
Afternoon. The jail trust has had a difficult road in a difficult situation. No doubt Greg inherited, some would say, an impossible situation. I supported the jail bond. Many here who have spoke didn't, and they said because of his administration that the same problems would be in the new facility and so on and so forth. And we can look at the past and we need to look at the past and learn lessons. And I want to do that as limited as possible because this is an opportunity to look forward. But I do want to say that it's been my firm conviction that this trust is in the best interest of the community. I do not think that law enforcement control of the jail is in the interest of the community. And I think that while there are problems with this trust and people on it, that in many ways it represents the diversity of our community, the difference of opinion on how to go about incarceration and detention. And we have this lectern and this public conversation today, which is healthy and have before. And so I appreciate that the trust has decided to move forward in a direction in the interest of the most vulnerable in our community in that facility. I think that going forward, the trust needs to prioritize its relationship. The jail needs to prioritize its relationship with the community. There's misunderstandings of what is going on and what's contributed to the situation and the debts. And I'll just name a few of them. I think that the new administrator needs to be able to have a relationship with the community, and that's a lot through media. And Greg's and OpGran's relationship with the media has been nothing short of catastrophic. I've never seen worse PR out of a public institution. And I know it sounds weird to hire somebody that's good at PR, but if they can't communicate effectively to us, to you, then we're going to have the same problem going forward. Secondly, you all have the biggest new opportunity that I see us next to a new administrator is a new relationship with the district attorney. I know just as much as all of you know that the single most guilty, responsible culprit to the carnage at the Oklahoma County Detention Center is David Prater. And I know that the grand jury is a political racket that has been used for ulterior motives. I remember a year and a half and 2 years ago when we were advocating to reduce population by getting mentally ill, physically ill people out of the jail, and he fought you all on that to keep the numbers up, to coerce plea deals. Now you have a new district attorney who I believe will be a constructive partner. So let's just take this opportunity to set the slate clean and move forward constructively with everybody's interest at heart. Thanks.
Thank you. Michael Washington.
Yes, I'm here, Mr. President. Well, well, well! My horseshoe guest. I can say that because I'm paying your salary. Now then. Well, 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 Mr. Greg Williams, to my left. I'm sure he knows that it's a great day for the citizens of the state of Oklahoma. For him to talk about moving himself on because he knew he did something wrong because he wouldn't be going. Uh-oh. Now then. But the situation is far from being corrected because all you've done when moving him was place a Band-Aid on an already exacerbated, crazy, outstanding blood pressure that's causing the wound to shoot out blood. You heard what I said, didn't you? I'm sure you did. As long as you got the antiquated jail system in place, the house of horror, ain't nothing gonna change. Ain't that right? You need to change the system internally first, so that whoever comes in will know this is what we expect of you or else. But no, we can't do that, can we? Because we know to allow that to continue to go on, we stand to lose money that we're collecting on a daily basis by letting fentanyl and all that stuff in there. You know how Michael's going to bring it to you. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Right on. Mr. Greg Williams, I don't care that COVID has killed millions. I don't care that families can be in the same room from a dying one. I don't care that millions of businesses have been closed down because of COVID. I don't care that families will no longer be able to embrace their loved ones because of COVID. COVID has made me tens of millions of dollars. I like it like that. So it's my friend. And you mean to tell me when we want you here? You have to be careful what you say, sir. You're a professional, sir. We cannot allow you to excuse yourself, sir, about knowing what you can or can't say, sir. You should have had the knowledge and wisdom and understanding, overstanding, to know certain things cannot be said. So if Michael comes up and says something he shouldn't say, off the record, I have to be held accountable for it, right? You are a man, a public servant. People are listening on you, watching over you, watching your behavior, watching your mannerisms. You talk about these fake county jail. Oh, here's my report before I leave. Look at this fake stuff. Hear me? Really? The part of the equation we see is deliberating is being moved until the policy, practices, procedures, activities, so forth and so on are revisited. We're going nowhere fast. And with that, Mr. Couch, I start these up. Boom. I will be back.
Dr. Whiters.
Thank you for this opportunity, but I would like to speak to the community.
Please address the trust.
Can I stand like this?
Just get on. Whatever you want to do.
Okay, thank you. How many people in this room have spent months or years in the county jail? Raise your hand. Listen, I'll tell you something. I spent years, 27 and a half years of my life, 5 years in the county jail, been in prison all my life. And I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen to the people inside the county jail. They replace him. And whoever they replace him with is going to get a free pass to allow 30-something more deaths because they're new to the facility. If he stays, the pressure is on him. He's going to have to do what it took him for 2.5 years to get right. It takes at least 3 to 5 years to run that jail to prevent deaths. The brothers and sisters is in there now is going to die. It's going to get worse, replacing him. I don't have it. I don't have nothing personal for him, against him, or with him. I come here for the people in the community. I served in that jail many nights. I got ate by bed bugs. I've been attacked by guards. I know personally. I'm not just listening or reading no report. I'm telling you, if y'all let them replace this man, it's going to get worse for the people in there. I thought we was here for the people in the jail. I thought that's who we care for. Them, not them, not him. None of that. I thought we was doing it for the people that was in there. We're the voice of the community. How can we be their voice when we worried about personal agendas or somebody's job and somebody's in there dying, suffering? Brothers is mentally disturbed. They're bothered. They're hurt. They need leadership. Replacing him makes it worse. It makes it worse. Y'all don't know because y'all haven't been there. Y'all haven't served time. Every time a new warden comes to a prison, it takes 5 years for them to get the prison ran right. 5 years. You want 3 more years or 5 more years for somebody to take his place when people in there dying and suffering? It don't make no sense to me.
When they in law enforcement already and have been, and they more intelligent than him.
Thank you.
Then it's fine.
Next up is the consent docket. We have 3 items on the consent docket today. We have the minutes of the November 7th meetings. We have the invoices and claims for the meeting of December 5th. And we have the income and financial reports. Are there any questions on any of those items or any of those items that the trust would like to pull for individual consideration? See,
Adoption.
we have a motion for adoption. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion passes. Next up is a report by Greg Williams.
Thank you. Today I'll talk a little bit about the, give you an update on the employee situation. Again, that continues to be one of our top priorities. I'll talk to you a little bit about Renee Houston, who passed away at the jail on November the 19th. She was found unresponsive. Medical assistance was provided. We did get a heartbeat. We got her to the hospital, but she was pronounced shortly after we got there. At this point, there doesn't seem to be any signs of foul play. We have contacted the OSBI and invited them in to help us or to conduct an investigation. And that investigation is still going on. The medical examiner, of course, will examine and give us the results of that examination, but we have not got that back yet. I'll talk a little bit about the operational statistics. Our count continues to decline since we've taken over in 20, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that, give you some general details on that. The health department has inspected, and we are in the process of putting together a response to that, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that. We continue to work with out of cell time, and we want to increase that as we have over the last year and a half, and we have renewed that effort, and with a little additional staff that we've realized over the last couple of months, we've put that to good use. These are our COVID-19 statistics, and right now we have no positive cases in the jail with employees or staff. Employees or the detainees. We had 1 positive detainee in November and 1 positive employee in November. Again, our protocols have not changed. We continue to quarantine people. We continue to do testing 3 to 5 days after they got there. And again, even though the results are low and the testing results are positive in a positive direction, the cost is still there. We spend about $300,000 a year doing that testing and tracing and tracking. So the expenses are there, but the results are good. So I am encouraged by that. We did hire 12 new people in November, and those 12 started the academy on November the 28th. Our total employee count as of this morning was 325. So those numbers are a little bit better than what we've seen in the past. But again, that number needs to go up, and we continue to recruit and to hold job fairs. So booking and releasing, and again, our average population in November was 1685. A year ago, it was 1762. These numbers don't mean a lot to a lot of different people, but I can tell you that when the trust took over in 2020, we were receiving about 80 people a day, and pre-COVID, I'm told it was about 100 people a day that the jail was receiving, and these numbers would suggest that we're down between 50 and 60. So even though our population is, and again, we got 685 was our average. We're at 602 today, and 206 of those are waiting to go to the Department of Corrections. So if we could get those to Department.
Go over those numbers one more time, Miss.
Yeah, 1601 was our count this morning, and we've got 206 waiting to go to the Department of Corrections. So again, if you take those 200 out of the Department of Corrections, our jail count would be just below 1,400. I think which would be a significant decrease since over the last 2 years. So again, our numbers do continue to decrease, even though the receptions are not totally noticeable of that.
No, that's significant though, that if you net out the state numbers, we're under 1,400.
Absolutely.
That's okay. Thank you so much.
Yep. Our fire control system, again, we're proud of that. This is the second year in a row that it's been green tagged. And that's one of the systems that the jail has historically struggled with keeping operational. It's just got a lot of components to it, and it's very difficult to maintain, but we have renewed that green tag, and we're happy about that. Johnson Controls is who does that inspection and who does that green tag for us. Again, I mentioned out of cell time, and that's just time that the detainees are out of their cell. And we have really worked very hard with trying to get a plan together to increase that time. We do have pods at this point that are out about 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. We still do not do recreation on the weekends. But during the week, we are getting people out of their cell more and more. And again, that's a customized plan. It's pretty involved when you look at really the mechanics of doing that. Really, we customize a plan for each pod because there's some pods that get out and wreck well together, other pods that don't so much due to gangs and protective custody and all different kinds of things that impact that. And again, we synchronize that with med pass and with feeding and with wound care and with mental evaluations and courts and all different things that have to be really synced together to increase that time. But we do have a plan in place, and we are implementing that. We've moved a lot of the staff offices into those pods, so now we have different groups of staff that actually are officing in the pods, so the presence in the living quarters is much more available and noticeable. So that's helping us, but that's something that we will continue to work for.
Let's stop there for a second, if you don't mind. First of all, I want to thank you and your staff for doing that. I know that's hard with the number of staff we hired to focus on getting the detainees out of the cell, but I also want to thank Trustee Arnell for her efforts in this area. This has been a focus of yours, and I know we're not where we need to be as of yet, but I think this is a good step in the right direction.
I sincerely appreciate you developing this plan. I think this is the most out of cell time since that facility's been built, and I'm not going to take any credit for this other than just asking for it, but I sincerely appreciate that you've done that.
That's right.
And I saw the plan. It's so well developed, and I really can't thank you enough for that.
Yeah, there's much work to be done, so we'll continue to work on that.
And I know that was a huge team effort.
Yeah.
And I know that William was involved in that, and I know that Major Garner was involved in that, and a lot of people involved on making that happen.
Right. And the detainees are on board with that too. We continue to do town hall meetings and get them educated. Really
Talk about that
the
for a
plan
minute.
is. And again, there's a lot of people that are detained over there. They've got struggles and mental health issues and anxieties and those kind of things. And being in groups and being out with people is sometimes aggravates that. We've had some that have mentioned that and brought to us. So it's process of changing the culture, and you've heard that several times. But it's changing the culture with the staff and with those being detained as well. So communication, you just take it one step at a time, and communication and education and all that is very critical. So I think we're making good progress, and the detainees are eager. You know, we put TVs in those pods. We put microwaves in those pods. We've got lots of gaming systems that we have implemented off and on, and some of them have been destroyed and some of them have not. So we're getting more and more cooperation with those being detained, and our destruction of cells is way down. Again, when we got there was lots of holes in the walls and lots of phones that were being destroyed, and the TVs that were put out would be destroyed, and microwaves would be destroyed, and we're seeing less and less of that. So that, to me, is evidence that the culture is changing ever so slightly in a very positive direction. So all that syncs together with out of cell time and destruction of the jail and doing some treatment and doing those kind of things. So anyway, it's when you look at the big picture, a lot of these components are very promising.
Thank you.
Custody Protect is technology that Sheriff Johnson had brought to our attention about a year ago, and we've been working with a company to help test that technology inside the Oklahoma County Detention Center. And at first, it was based on Bluetooth, and it didn't work very well. And that company has gone back and they have retooled some of that, and they've got it on a Wi-Fi system now, and they've got repeaters and some different things that they're willing to put in. And I think this is promising technology. Again, if we did this, we don't have funding for it. It's about $200,000 if you use 100 sensors. That's the cost really, or it'll be close to that. And again, that's the batteries and the bands and the sensors and all the things, the chargers and lots of components that go with that. But that's really the cost of that. So again, this is emerging technology. And the last test that we had, we've had them in 3 different times and ran 3 different pilot tests. And the last one has been worked very well. In most parts of the jail, it works very well. So we're excited about that technology. And if we can find funding for that, then I think that's something that we ought to consider as a trust. Again, I'm not sure it'd be Custody Protect is kind of a brand name, and we could spec that out, or we could bid that out to different things. So I'm not advocating necessarily a particular company or a product, but just the technology and the idea of putting life monitoring bracelets on at least some of our most vulnerable, I think is the direction that we should go. That concludes my presentation.
Great, thank you. Questions for Mr. Williams?
Greg, sorry. We always hear about the deaths, which are tragic, but we really don't get the numbers on the people who were saved, who were dead when you found them and brought back with Narcan. And I really appreciate it. I saw that there were quite a few this past week also that you found and they lived.
Yep. Our staff work very hard, and we take life very, very, very serious, and so does our partner Turnkey. And unfortunately, we do get people at the jail that are not healthy and are in crisis and make bad choices and do things. And the staff respond as we become aware of those things. So, yeah, our staff work very hard to do that. I appreciate you mentioning that.
Thank you. Is there a motion to receive Mr. Williams' report?
So move.
We have a motion. Second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Abstain.
Yes.
Yes. Item 6 is a report regarding the Oklahoma County Justice Authority Citizens Advisory Board. Welcome. You're replacing Chris today?
I know.
I thought he said he was going to be here.
I kicked him right out.
Okay.
I apologize for that. No, he gave me full permission to give you the report today, and
Excellent.
I'm so excited to do that. The Community Advisory Board continues to just make, I feel, significant progress in our efforts to listen to the employees and the detainees and so many in the community who have a vested interest in what is happening at the detention center. So today I have 2 specific reports I want to share. One of which is in regards to the staff survey that the Recruitment and Retention Subcommittee conducted. Out of the roughly 300 employees that were on staff at the time, we received 103 total responses, which if you do this kind of thing, you know that that's a pretty significant response. So I'm going to give you just a high-level summary of those responses. We definitely saw a significant number of individuals who had a lot to say, and we appreciated that. So on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being extremely satisfied, 41 staff gave their employee experience a 4 or a 5. 36 respondents gave their employee experience a 3. And 26 respondents gave their employee experience a 1 or a 2. Some of the key messages that we heard repeated, not sharing all of the key messages, but the majority were that things have improved at the detention center, but overall morale is still low with several negative staff. Night shift employees often feel left out of events, staff appreciation activities, etc. There was a sense that there's a lack of teamwork or that not everyone is doing their job well. Communication needs improvement between management and staff. Most feel like they receive decent communication with their direct supervisor, but would welcome more communication from upper management. There was indeed yearning for more pay and incentives. They also would like to see more opportunities for advancement. They would like promotion opportunities. A lot of them express that they really enjoy their work and they want to feel pride, but dislike the negative publicity and perception of the detention center within the community. There was also quite a few that mentioned that the insurance is great. When asked what motivates them to go above and beyond in their role, the top 3 responses were: number 1, knowing what's expected of them; number 2, feeling valued; and number 3, more money. And finally, when asked why they work at the detention center, they gave 2 overwhelming responses. 1 is they want to make a difference and see the detention center as an opportunity to do that. And number 2, they enjoy law enforcement. So with this high-level feedback, the Community Advisory Board will be meeting next Wednesday morning to review it in depth. The full report has been shared with the Community Advisory Board. The subcommittee, of which I am the chair, has presented recommendations to the Community Advisory Board in terms of next steps, like what do we do with this information. But we're going to visit about those recommendations and bring them forward to the Jail Trust in January. All right, the second report that I wanted to share is, yes, absolutely.
Of the people that said 1 or 2 on that ranking, was there somewhat of a consistent theme that came through there, or was it various?
That's a great question. I'd probably honestly have to really dig into it.
Sure.
But yeah, I would hesitate to say definitively, but I think that would be valuable, to your point, for us to even dig a little bit deeper into what the resounding themes were for each of those categories. And I'll make sure that we do that. Thank you. So the second report I wanted to share is the continuation of our effort to conduct focus groups in the detention center to meet one-on-one or in small groups with the detainees. So a couple of the Community Advisory Board members did convene with a focus group on Thursday, December the 2nd. Some of the suggestions for improvements and feedback that was heard during that visit was better communication about court dates and status of pending cases. They would like more programming. They would like larger food portions. They would prefer better processes for orientation for those detained. So some suggested maybe like a peer-led orientation program. They would like more frequent contact with family members and loved ones. The men said they need greater access to hygiene products. The women who were a part of this said that there is adequate access to hygiene packets. Both the men and women stated they are getting out of their cells 2 to 3 days a week for approximately 5 hours each time, which we heard from Director Williams is happening. Several of the men and women said the bedbug situation is improving. The women said the operations of the jail have greatly improved in the past 3 to 4 years. The men said the quality of health care and response time to requests for medical attention is deficient. So similarly, the Community Advisory Board will be summarizing all of the responses that we have heard during those focus groups, and will be bringing forward specific recommendations for the Jail Trust in January.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and effort on that. I do know you spent a lot of time on it. It's very, very valuable, and the input is very helpful to us.
Great.
Questions or
A
comments?
question.
Yes.
Thank you for coming to present. Will we have access to those reports in January? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Other questions or comments? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming down. And we have a motion to receive the report from the Citizens Advisory Board.
Don't move.
Have a motion? Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Item number 7 is a possible contract, and this is for Foresight Labs to deploy custody protect for monitoring of detainees. And that's the uh, product and program that Mr. Williams described earlier. We do not have funding for this. I believe that it's potentially could be funded through ARPA funds as we're monitoring people who may be sick and so we would think that Mr. Commissioner-elect, that would be a potential for that to happen. So as we would like to go forward with it, noting that we do not have funding at this time, and we will be working to come up with a funding opportunity for us on this item. Questions regarding the item?
I think you're probably right with the ARPA funds, but I want you to know that with ARPA comes a lot of
strings,
federal things that we must meet
Yeah.
in the bid process and so on and so forth. So it's not that we could select an individual company like Foresight Labs or anything
Right.
like that, but I would absolutely say that protecting the individuals inside of that through medical aspects would be probably something we should look at and applying for to
Yeah,
ARPA.
it seems like it'd be a match, but we've got to do some more due diligence.
Absolutely.
All right. That being said, is there a
accept.
we have a motion to approve the item? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to second. Please call the roll.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The motion passes. Item 8 is discussion regarding a resolution requesting increased funding for competitive salaries to facilitate recruitment and retention of qualified personnel for the Oklahoma County Detention Center to address current and ongoing staffing needs. We do know that we're working with the county staff through their process and the county commissioners. We think we've identified a funding source and are working through that process. And I know that it's going on, but we do want to keep it on the forefront. And so I would ask that we pass this resolution to make sure that all know that we're still very interested in pursuing this. Are there questions regarding it?
Move its adoption.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion second. Please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The motion passes. Item 9 is to announce that the next trust meeting will be on Tuesday, January 3rd in this room. Item 10 is to go into executive session for 3 items, and I would consider a motion to go into executive session specifically for the items as outlined in item 10.
Move its adoption.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We are in executive session. we should also go into executive session for item 11. Yeah. Do we need to go? Yeah, I would guess that we make a motion to go back into open session.
So move. Second.
So we have a motion to go into executive session. We can call the roll on that.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, the motion passes. Now I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for item 11,
So moved.
specifically as listed in item 11. We have a motion to second. Please call the roll.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, now I have a quick question for legal. Since we came out of the executive session and went back into open session, do we need to make another motion to go back into executive session for item 10? I would ask for a motion to go back into executive session on item 10.
So moved.
Specifically listed. Motion to second, please call the roll. Who made the motion?
I did. Or MT. Either way.
Yes.
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 Yes. We're now back in executive session. All right, we are back. I would consider a motion to enter into open session from item 10. Second? Or we have a motion, first of all. Motion? Come into open session? We have a motion and a second to go into open session after item 10. Call the roll, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So we are out of executive session on item 10. I would take a motion to come out of executive session on item 11.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. We are in open session. Next item is item 13. The next item is for approval is a separation agreement to be offered to Greg Williams. I want to start by acknowledging Greg Williams for his efforts in the last 3 years. As you all know, Greg was hired at the end of 2019 and began 2020 putting in countless hours to get the trust off the ground. He stepped into operations in July of 2020 in the midst of a global pandemic and worked tirelessly to improve operations at the jail. I know Greg will be the first to tell you the last few years have not been easy. First, Mr. Williams' current contract requires 45 days notice prior to his last day of employment. Based on our acceptance of his resignation today, the last day with the jail trust will be January 19th, 2023. Greg has been a diligent and committed CEO over the last 3 years. I have no doubt Greg will continue to serve the trust to the best of his ability during the time based on his determination, service mindset, and commitment to bettering the community. The separation agreement will obligate Mr. Williams to provide consultation and advice to the trust for a period of 90 days after January 19th. That is particularly important since Mr. Williams will be able to provide advice to the interim CEO and the permanent CEO during their transition periods once they are hired. Mr. Williams will make himself available in the future to assist with litigation matters on investigations when he is needed. Mr. Williams will also be required to waive various legal rights. As part of the agreement, Mr. Williams will be obligated to provide the trust with a complete general release of claims for the day of termination, including rights under the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, as the agreement will need to make clear under the Older Workers Benefits Protection Act. Greg will have 21 days to consider any agreement we offer, and even after he signs, he will have additional 7 days to change his mind. So to be clear, what we're voting on today is to make an offer to Greg, which would be effective on the 8th day after he signs, if he signs. In exchange for this, the trust will provide a separation payment of $40,000 plus $55,000, which is his salary through the rest of the fiscal year. Greg, in acknowledgement of his service of the past 3 years, as well as the benefits we will get through the separation to help ensure future success of the interim and the next CEO. With that, I move to approve the terms of a separation agreement to be offered to Greg Williams.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion regarding the separation agreement?
I'd like to be recognized, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
We've heard the people today so rudely say the same thing they've said for a year or two. It started that way with a hostile work environment. When Greg came on, amid calls then for the resignation of the entire trust, there were insults, there were threats, just a lot of stuff that I find very offensive. When Greg came on, he didn't even have a place to work. He was not extended the courtesy prior to the January 1, 2020 takeover. I'm sorry, the July 1. He was not even extended the courtesy of a tour of the jail and the discussion of the current conditions, whatever they were, and what needed to happen. We also know, among all the things that we've talked about and the deaths that we hear about, and I want to point out something. Woodward and Bernstein, one or the other of them, I don't remember, in the latest book, defined good journalism as the efforts to determine nearest to reality and truth. You can read it in his book. That's not what the press has done. This has been a press full of sensationalism, and they have not yet gone in there to say somebody accused us of giving them bedbug bites. And there was no effort to go in. Somebody accused us of all of these deaths. And nobody went in to look. Not a time. And I think that's wrong. And it's my time to say that. There was an article in the New York Times just in the last couple of weeks talking about all the jail deaths all over the United States. Houston had 24 this year. Spokane, Washington, deaths spiked in New York City, Seattle, Washington, Pittsburgh, Louisville, California, Texas, and Georgia. They all had dramatic increases in jail deaths because of COVID and fentanyl drugs. And then even for all of us in the United States, life expectancy has fallen, again reported in the New York Times. It's fallen because of the increase in and the impact of COVID and of drugs. And it's affecting the entire nation. But what do we want to do? We want to yell and call for Greg's head. Well, Greg's the one who came in under terrible circumstances, wasn't even allowed in until the day he took over. Wasn't allowed to look, wasn't allowed to find out anything. And he took over in a hostile jail, hostile work environment. People didn't want him, and part of the reason they didn't was because of what's been said in this room. He came into a place where a fire system hadn't worked for years, fire protection. That's now fixed.
When he came in, there were roaches and bed bugs everywhere. I've heard stories about the kitchen and where they literally had to sweep roaches out with a broom. And the kitchen was in terrible condition. The food trays were moldy. They were old. They were cracked. They were all of those life-threatening things was wrong. That's been fixed. Phones often didn't work. They had to pay a minimum, they being the arrestees, a minimum of 25 cents a minute. Now they get some free minutes every week. They get, I think, 33 minutes of video visitation every week. They didn't ever get out of their cells before. Now they have, as we heard today, up to 5 or 6 hours of out of cell time. Has anybody from the press wanted to go look about that and see what really is true? And I can tell you they haven't. Greg has met with arrestees and taken action after that. Everybody says cleanliness is improved dramatically. Is it perfect? No, not ever. But we also know, we hear all about these health department reports. We know that prior to our takeover of the jail, the health department came in and gave a one-paragraph thing, said there's nothing wrong here. Did it suddenly get dirty when we took over? I don't think so. There was water everywhere in the jail when we took over. It was in buckets all over the place because of the leaks. We don't have that now. And all jail cells have water, and they have hot water. And it's because Greg had led to that. There hadn't been a bit of fresh air in that jail for years. And Greg did a new air exchange. When we came in, just the cost of commissary to put money on the books, people had to pay extra to the group to do that. And if they put it on a phone, then they had to pay extra. We heard today that people want more food, and I guess we can figure that out. But I do know that the diet that the arrestees have is approved, and it's above the minimum amount for a diet. So that's out there. And then in all of this, we got a clean audit. Absolutely clean, no exceptions. Under the auspices of no good deed goes unpunished. And that's what we're doing to Greg. Greg has worked his heart out to make this jail better. And he's got nothing but this BS that we hear every single week from the same people every single time. You know, the jail's going to take a hit. It will not continue to improve at the same pace that it was. I mean, it takes time to recover from this kind of a hit. As I said last week or last month, for every complex problem, there is a simple answer that's simple and clear and wrong. I hate this decision. I absolutely hate it. I think it's just as wrong as it can be, and I think everybody who's called for it is wrong. I'm done.
Mr. Chair, I would like, yes, to make a comment. There's a man, I would just call his name the Apostle Paul. When he was writing to the church at Galatia, he was talking about if someone had fallen into a bad situation, and if you were going to be one to go and help that person out of the bad situation that they had fallen into, to be very careful and very mindful as you communicate with that person, as you help that person, because we live in a culture, we love to point fingers, and then we point one over here at Butch, then I got three pointing back at myself. So, but in that letter, he used the word consider. He just said, hey, as you're doing that, consider yourself. And that word consider in the original Greek language is the word scopio. And we get our English word scope from this word scopio. This word consider means scopio, and we get our word scope from it. So, to my fellow jail trust members, we now have to turn the scope away from whomever else, and we have to aim at ourselves. What Paula was saying is you're helping the person turn the scope and aim it at yourself. We have to remove the crosshairs from being pointed at whoever the next jail administrator will be, and we have to aim the scope directly at ourselves. We should have done this a long time ago, but in the future, we need to do a far better job of holding the CEO, the jail administrator, accountable for their actions or their inaction. If not, then we are culpable. We are to blame for all of the injustices that take place inside of that Oklahoma County Jail. If we don't get it right and get it right quickly, I'm of the humble opinion. I know people don't like to pay attention to old Scobie, what he says, because they have too many preformed judgments and opinions. I don't know a lot of stuff. I'm not a psychologist, but I know the psyche of people. I know how people think. Perfectly, no. We all come up short, but I know people. And I am of the humble opinion that if we don't get it right and we don't get it right quickly, then the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority, also known as the Oklahoma County Jail Trust, should be dissolved. If we don't get it right and get it right quickly, it should be dissolved. We cannot keep passing the buck. And now this is a message to the citizens of Oklahoma County. I'm quoting from a news story written July 29, 2022, about the Raymond Detention Center in Jackson, Mississippi. Quote, during an evidentiary hearing this spring, Sheriff Tyree Jones said he wanted another shot to get problems fixed at the Raymond Detention Center rather than having the jail taken over by the federal government. Months later, the sheriff and other local leaders have lost that shot, and the judge that initially gave Jones a chance is ordering the jail be put under federal receivership. That happened, I believe, November 1st of 2022. U.S. District Court Judge Carlton Reeves ordered that the federal government take over the Hinds County Detention Center and have that receiver in place no later than November 1st. He said, after ample time and opportunity, regretfully, it is clear that the county is incapable or unwilling to handle its affairs. The judge wrote this. Additional intervention is required. It is time to appoint a receiver. Let me give a parenthetical pause. All old Scobie is doing is trying to help. I'm not trying to disrupt. I'm trying to help us. So, quote, the county and sheriff cannot continue this exercise in accountability hot potato, one which has proved deadly to detainees. This was the judge's opinion. Now, I'm not talking about the Oklahoma County Detention Center. I want y'all to know. It sounds like it, but it's somewhere else. The county continues, quote, to allude to the construction of the new jail. Again, we're not talking about Oklahoma. We're talking about somewhere else. They continue to allude to the construction of the new jail as an opportunity for a fresh start. But as Mr. Parrish testified during the July 19th proceeding, if the county continues to provide inadequate supervision and staffing, detainees will just dismantle that facility too, he wrote. The judge was of the opinion on both less and more intrusive means to address jail concerns, including financial sanctions against the county, ordering the release of inmates, and requiring board members and the sheriff to spend a week or more detained there in that jail. He said, experiencing life at the jail firsthand would surely motivate the county's leaders to correct unconstitutional conditions therein. But this also seems extreme remedy, at least at the present. So he let him off the hook. Quote, we can't wait for continued destruction of the facilities. We can't wait for the proliferation of more contraband. We can't wait for more assaults. We can't wait for more deaths. The time to act is now. Sounds kind of like that frog story from last month. He said, up on appointment of a receiver, RDC shall no longer languish in the county's inadequate grip. Citizens of Oklahoma County, the DOJ, Department of Justice, took over Raymond Detention Center in Jackson, Mississippi. In April 2022, the DOJ threatened to take over Rikers Island. As many of you are aware, the Oklahoma County Detention Center has been under an MOU with the Department of Justice since 2008. If we, excuse me, the jail trust members, don't make some changes in the way that we're superintending this jail, then the probability, the likelihood of the DOJ coming in and taking over the Oklahoma County Detention Center is inevitable. As I look around at some of your faces, your voices have become audible. And you're saying, so what, Scobie? Who cares? May I submit to you that if this happens, if the DOJ comes in, you do realize that there's a price tag that comes along with it. Whatever the DOJ deems necessary to improve the conditions of the Oklahoma County Detention Center, they will do it. And can I tell you what they won't do? They won't come ask you, can they? They will just do it. And they will pass on the cost to the Oklahoma County taxpayers. Now, the last I checked, money doesn't grow on trees, and it typically does not fall out of thin air. Now, maybe for some of my fellow trust members, it does. But from where I sit, it doesn't. So, with that, the money has to come from somewhere. I'm talking about if the DOJ comes in and takes over, they're going to pass the buck, the price tag to us. The money has to come from somewhere. You know where it comes from? If you live in Oklahoma County, it's going to come from you. Now you would say, oh, preacher, I live in an apartment. There's no way it's going to pass to me. Well, your rent's going to go up. As a homeowner, your property taxes will go up. Listen, there's too much going on under the cloak of darkness, lack of transparency and accountability. We must snatch the cover off and bring some light to this darkness. We have become far too comfortable with the shenanigans of darkness that have plagued our jail for far too long. And this doesn't start with a new jail administrator, this change, or a new CEO. This starts with us, the trust. The trust. The trust. I'll close with this. Are the residents of Oklahoma County able to trust the trust? Better yet, are the detainees of the Oklahoma County Detention Center able to trust the trust? In the words of that great R&B crooner of days gone by, the king of soul, Sam Cooke, it's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh yes, it will. We'll be the change, jail trust, or we will be changed, all of us. There will be a dissolution of this jail trust and a takeover by the Department of Justice, which will cost our county untold millions. I'm done.
Other comments? Other comments? Schluck? No. All right, there's a motion and a second. Please call the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. That was 13A. 13B, there's no action to be taken at this time. Or item 14 either. I'd entertain a motion for those to be stricken. 13B and 14. Your motion? Motion? Second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to strike items 13B and 14. Call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Item 50 is for adjournment. I entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll. Yes.
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 We are adjourned.